Warsaw Airport. Thank you to our staff sergeant who sang the national anthem. Thank you to everyone here who is here tonight to honor our Vietnam era veterans. A veteran, whether active duty, retired, National Guard, or Reserve, is someone who at one point in their life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America for an amount up and including their life. Tonight we honor over 200 people who did that now a few years ago. But we appreciate your service and I wanted to take this time to thank you for it. I would like to ask A. David Mitchell, Vietnam veteran and a pastor at Community Bible Church, to come and to share our invocation. David?
I have to make a correction. I'm not the pastor of the church, but I go to the church. Okay. Let's thank God for the beautiful evening He's given us. Dear Father in heaven, as we gather here this evening, we give you thanks for the opportunity we have to meet together as men and women veterans who have served our beloved country in a not so popular war, but one that saw the bravery of many. We're grateful already for the joy and the companionship and yes, some tears we've had together this weekend, and we thank those who have worked so many hours to put this reunion and roll call together. But dear God, as with any time we meet as a group, we would never neglect to remember those who are not with us today, but have paid the ultimate sacrifice by giving their lives for their fellow soldiers and for the principles and freedoms we still have as a nation. No one, Lord, can walk past the replica of the Vietnam Wall without feeling the impact of all of those who died. And we continue to pray for the families who lost loved ones at that time. Father, I pray that for a number of our brothers and sisters who still after many years have lingering effects from the war, some who are in despair from the events they dealt with, and some from the effects from the exposure to Agent Orange, which did not show up until later, but when it did so with a deadly rush that is affecting so many veterans today. Lord, despite some of these situations, we thank you for the comfort and the strength you provide for those that seek you. And dear God, may we continue to seek peace in our world with compassion and justice, and may we be ever ready to serve others and to serve you, even as we have served our nation. Now we ask that you might bless the rest of this evening together. In the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, amen.
It's always an honor to introduce a friend. And our speaker tonight is a friend, maybe in a different way with me. In the year 2000, I was working on a ceremony to honor my friend who was killed in Vietnam during the fall of Saigon. And I was working on it, and this man came out of the crowd and he said to me, I remember that day. I remember when people were being evacuated out of Saigon. He said, I remember when it was announced that your friend was killed. And so since that time, Jerry Hogan and I have had a special relationship. I even get to say Semper Fi to him, and he says Semper Fi to me. It means something different when we see each other. Jerry was born in Warsaw and graduated from Warsaw Community High School. He attended the United States Naval Academy and graduated in 1973, whereupon he was commissioned as an officer of Marines. While stationed with the 3rd Marine Division in Asia, Jerry participated in Operation Frequent Wind, the evacuation of Saigon, for which his unit received a Presidential Unit Citation, Meritorious Unit Commendation, Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, and Marine Corps Expeditionary Medal. Jerry also served as Executive Officer of Battery B, 1st Battalion, 10th Marines, and Executive Officer of Marine Corps Recruit Station Lansing. Since leaving the military, Jerry has served as commanding officer of the Warsaw, Indiana Guard Reserve Unit, as a captain in the Civil Air Patrol, and Blue and Gold officer for the Naval Academy Information Program. He is a life member of the VFW and member of the American Legion, the Marine Corps Association, and the U.S. Naval Academy Alumni Association. Jerry and his wife Sally live in Warsaw. They have raised 7 children and currently have 8 grandchildren, with 1 on the way. Sally retired today as director of the Kosciuszko County Historical Society Museum and is now collections manager for the organization. The two enjoy dancing, traveling, and enjoying the beauty of our great community. Let me introduce to you Jerry Hogan.
Thank you. Last time Ken and I were on the podium together, by the time he had finished his invocation, the audience had heard about 90% of my speech. So I thank him especially today for letting someone else do the invocation for us. Thank you, America. Thank you for our freedom. Sounds kind of hokey in today's world, doesn't it? But it didn't seem so hokey when I heard these words on the evening of April 29, 1975, from a tiny Vietnamese lady many years my senior. We were on the flight deck of the USS Vancouver off the coast of South Vietnam as the evacuation of Saigon was about to kick into high gear. My job was to supervise the Marines manning 2 M60 machine guns pointed at a group of 24 evacuees who were stacked in a Huey helicopter like so many pieces of firewood. The lady in question was one of the evacuees who had experienced about 30 years of civil warfare and was now facing an indeterminate future in a strange land thousands of miles from her home. And yet, with all she had faced and was about to endure, she was still thankful to the people of the United States of America for what we had done for her and her people. I believe when she said these words to me, she was looking forward to the promise of America. That's kind of ironic when you consider that the next day, we same Americans would be abandoning her country and leaving hundreds of thousands of supporters to the fortune of an enemy intent on destroying them. April 30th, 1975 was not a failure of the American military, who won every major battle of the war. It was the culmination of a lack of political courage and leadership on the part of those we entrusted to lead our country in a time of crisis and violent upheaval. But I'm not here to discuss the mistakes and derelictions of politicians. We're here to remember the 58,318 American dead, the 153,303 wounded, and the more than 2,700,000 who served in Vietnam and fought for this lady, for each other, and for the freedoms that our country cherishes. My one day in country is burned indelibly in my mind, and I don't claim to understand or empathize with those who spent a full tour or whose tours were cut short because of wounds or other reasons. I do think I share something of the uncertainty and fear upon flying into a landing zone, knowing that we were completely at the mercy of an enemy whose weapons were certainly pointed at the UH-1 in which I was riding, and in the UH-1 in which I left several hours later, perhaps flown by my friend Joe Conlon. Thank you, Joe, for the ride. I certainly understand the sense of desperation and futility and terror that our Vietnamese allies were experiencing as their brothers, the enemy, stood by, ready to strike the final blow after 30 years' struggle for dominance. If you'd like to vicariously experience what the Vietnamese people endured after the U.S. troops pulled out of their country, I invite you to talk to my friend Thomas Strong, former petty officer of the Navy of the Republic of Vietnam, and to read his book, Our Brothers, the Enemy, which was co-written by Joe's mom. Is Thomas here today? Thomas, if you're here, would you stand up or raise your hand or something? Anyway, I'm sure Thomas would be happy to sell you a copy of his book, and it's well worth reading. I absolutely understand because I too experienced the derision, disrespect, and disparagement that was heaped upon the heads of my fellow soldiers, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, and Marines after this war and during. For the first and hopefully only time in the history of this country, Vietnam veterans and other service members were blamed and scorned for no other reason than that we followed the dictates of our political leaders, as well as our own sense of duty and patriotism to our country and fellow service members. While thousands reveled in the Summer of Love in Woodstock in August 1969, 109 of our comrades died in Vietnam. While John Kerry was lying about his former brothers in arms in April 1971, 326 real heroes died. And while Hanoi Jane was making treasonous radio broadcasts from North Vietnam on August 22, 1972, 55 true Americans were being killed by her comrades. And yet, I've yet to meet a single Vietnam veteran who say they regret their service, although most of them hated the war. One of these veterans was my cousin, Mark Hyland. Mark was an 18-year-old right out of high school when he received his draft notice. He didn't want to wait for his induction date, so he volunteered to leave early. He must have impressed his superiors because by the time he got to Constitute Air Base in 1967, he was wearing sergeant stripes. 3 months later, he was in Germany with a Bronze Star, a Purple Heart, and a hole in his heart and his chest that took 8 months to physically heal enough to receive a medical discharge and an 80% pension. His most vivid memory in the hospital was the day his mail caught up with him, and he received 152 letters after hearing nothing from his family for several months. He never spoke about his time in country, and he never healed mentally or emotionally. And for the next 45 years, this talented, happy-go-lucky kid that we knew relived his experiences and ongoing nightmares, both awake and asleep. Mark lost his family, several businesses, his health, and his self-respect as he slid into alcoholism and drug addiction. I'm happy to say that in 2013, he finally found some peace and lived the rest of his life in relative serenity and sobriety. However, his physical injuries eventually overcame his strength, and Mark died from a fall down the stairs during his third stroke in 2016. I believe that Mark's name belongs on that wall. But for every Mark, there are hundreds of vets who are able to serve and return to their homes, live fairly normal lives, and make significant contributions to their families and communities. If you'd like to hear their stories, just ask. There's plenty of them here. I'm not sure what they're going to be willing to share, but I'm sure that they'll at least thank you and share something. One vet told me his biggest regret of the war that he was unable to get to a Billy Graham revival in country, although he was able to sit in the blazing sun for 2 hours waiting to see Bob Hope and the Gold Diggers. Another friend shared his story of making a hot landing as his welcome to the war. He told me he was only scared twice. The first month he was there because he didn't know what he was getting into, and the last month because he did. The rest of the time he was kind of numb. Another friend with a 100% disability, when asked of his experience, named the 13 members of his platoon who died when he suffered his wounds. He considers himself one of the lucky ones. He's been sober for 22 years. We're not here to celebrate war or wallow in the mud of misfortune or misperceptions of who we are as a result of our service. We're here to share and thank those who gave of themselves while honoring the memory of those who gave all to ensure the privilege of liberty that we enjoy today. I think Father Dennis Edward O'Brien, Sergeant United States Marine Corps, says it best. It is the soldier, not the minister, who has given us freedom of religion. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us freedom to protest. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag. I wish I could say that we're coming to the end of wars. I wish I could say that our latest conflict is the war to end all wars, as they believed about World War I. I wish I could say that our bravest and brightest, our children and grandchildren, have seen the end of the fighting, but we know better. We know that there's still a lot of evil in this world. We know that there are still stupid, lying, and self-serving politicians throughout the world who are more interested in their own legacies than in the lives of their citizens. And we know that as long as there is a country worth fighting for, we will have scared and brave men and women who will step up and take the fight to the enemy as we did. And we'll continue to hear our true friends say, "Thank you, America. Thank you for our freedom." Welcome home, my brothers and sisters.
I'm just proclaiming that it's National Hug a Vietnam Veteran Day, so, later on have at it. So there are so many thanks to give out tonight. I hesitate to even start thanking. The easiest way to say is thank you to all of the people who have volunteered so many hours, so many different things to make this possible. Believe it or not, this process is like making sausage. You don't really want to know what the process is, but the end product isn't too bad. So it's worked out really well. I want to thank Mayor Joe Palmer. He is the reason for the Vietnam Wall to be here in Warsaw. No other person. I want to thank Paula Bowman. Paula, where are you? Paula's back here. Paula has done countless hours of work on this. She and I have laughed and cried and almost stabbed one another in the process, so thank you, Paula. I want to thank our veterans groups, the American Legion and the DFW. We kind of gave you a night off tonight a little bit. They do ceremony after ceremony for veterans at our cemeteries during their funerals. Thank you to the American Legion and the DFW for all of your help. I want to thank the Indiana Guard Reserve for being our color guard tonight, and especially for displaying the flags of the Armed Forces tonight. Thank you for your support. And I hesitate to go on beyond that because there are so many people who have made this possible. And most importantly, I thank our Creator, the author of liberty, who still sustains us and who still keeps us here. This is why we have the freedoms we have. And I worry about our country sometimes. I'm not going to preach. Gary already did the preaching. But thank you, God. And whoever put the weather in, who said we needed a pat and purr tonight, whoever put the pat and purr in, thank you. We appreciate you. And we really appreciate the weather tonight. But thank you, God. Still calling to come down. And he has a presentation.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate you trying to give all the accolades and all the thanks. There's just so many. You did a noble job. I'm sure you missed about 90% of them because 2014, we stood on this same spot and honored our World War II veterans on the 70th anniversary of the D-Day invasion, and we continue to honor them tonight. In 2016, we honored our Korean veterans on this very spot, and we continue to honor them tonight. But tonight, Vietnam veterans, it's your night. Tonight, it's your night. As Ken tried to mention the number of folks who have assisted in this effort, everyone did this with one purpose, and that was to make this a special evening for you all. And I suppose as mayor I get to take credit for the weather, because I sure take credit when it rains, or get blamed. But we're thankful for the weather, but most important, we're thankful for the countless hours, the countless dollars, the countless gifts of time, talent, and treasure that so many in this community have provided since we cooked this scheme up about 4 or 5 months ago. And it's all for you. And we hope you appreciate it. I know you'll appreciate it. I would certainly ask that any of you that haven't had an opportunity to visit the wall, on your own time, the wall will be open 24 hours until about 3 o'clock on Sunday. You're welcome down at any time, and we put the wall down in our beautiful park. Our park has never looked better. Our park is serving a different purpose this weekend, and it's an extension of our Memorial Day holiday, another weekend of Memorial Day, just for you Vietnam veterans, and we hope you get a chance to go down and see our Vietnam Wall. So, in conclusion, I'd just like to read a proclamation tonight for our Vietnam veterans. Whereas we honor all the men and women who served in our nation's armed forces throughout history, Warsaw, Indiana is humbled to honor and remember our Vietnam-era veterans in Kosciuszko County. And this conflict defined an entire generation of Americans, and numerous brave men and women served during the conflict, with 23 from our county who died or are missing in action during their service. And citizens of Warsaw, Indiana and Kosciuszko County must never forget the pain and suffering that lingers today for the men and women who fought with honor and distinction in the name of freedom and democracy for all. And we remember the men and women who so honorably served during more than a decade of fighting in the challenging terrains of Southeast Asia, where they faced extraordinary and unprecedented dangers. We will never forget their sacrifice, and we value their continued service to their fellow veterans today, as they embody the mottos of the branches of military in which they serve. And since their return, these veterans have contributed tremendously to our community, state, and nation. And whereas the city of Warsaw, Indiana, will be home to these American veterans traveling tribute Vietnam Wall from May 31st to June 3rd, 2018 at Central Park, to remind all who visit of the blood, sweat, sacrifice, and tears of our Vietnam-era veterans and their families. Therefore, I, Mayor Joseph M. Tolmer, Mayor of the City of Warsaw, do hereby proclaim May 31st through June 3rd as a time of commemoration and remembrance, as the American Veterans Traveling Tribute Vietnam Wall will make its temporary home in our community. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Joe. We now have Russell Gale, who works for Congressman Jim Banks. If he would like to share a few words.
Good evening. It's an honor to be here. Congressman Banks has asked me to read a letter on his behalf. Today we honor Kosciuszko County's very own American heroes. The many courageous veterans in attendance today answered America's call to shoulder the burdens on the battlefield of Vietnam. During this tumultuous time in American history, these heroes selflessly stood in harm's way and defended our democracy and the American way. Veterans, you have truly made it possible for each of us to live in the greatest country in the world. The Kosciuszko County Honor and Remember ceremony is being held to honor the many warriors here today who did not receive the welcome home they deserved. It is here that we remember your brave sacrifices for future generations, and we remain forever grateful. Sincerely, Congressman Jim Banks. Thank you all so much for your service.
also have Brian Spalding here, and he is representing Jackie Kowalski. Brian?
Thank you so much, Ken. It's an honor to be here. I have a simple message from the Congresswoman, and that is thank you so much for your service and your sacrifice, and thank you so much to the veterans' families for their service and sacrifice. To tag on to what Jerry had stated, the Congresswoman often reminds people that she wouldn't be in the position she is in Congress had it not been for the service of veterans. So tonight, thank you so much. Welcome home, and may God bless America.
We also have a special presentation to the city of Warsaw. We did receive, this took, we jumped through a lot of hoops in a short period of time, but from the Department of Defense, the Vietnam War commemoration, they have presented the city of Warsaw with a special Vietnam War commemoration flag. And I'm going to ask Joe to come up here and receive. And they, fly this down at the wall with your permission, Mr. Mayor. Okay, I knew you were going to say no. So, and yeah, wow. Okay, I'll get my list together. We're also asking that if you would please have it in the city chambers. Thank you, Joe. We're now going to have, let's give our Lake Area Community Band a hand first of all. We're going to have them now play the Armed Forces Medley, and we would ask all veterans of all wars, all services, if you would please stand when the anthem of your branch is played. Lake City Community Band. Thank you.
The United States Army. United States Coast Guard. United States Navy.
One person that I waited to thank until this point, I want to thank my good friend John Sadler. John, where are you at? John's loving this right now, but John does a lot of work behind the scenes and has helped to make this possible as well. So, John, thank you. We want to thank our two presenters tonight of the awards. Sergeant First Class Jordan Mayfield. I'm not going to call him Jeremy Mayfield. I am a NASCAR driver last time or the time before, but it's Steph, Sergeant First Class Jordan Mayfield, and Gunnery Sergeant Dave Morales. Thank you for coming tonight. And for being our presenters. We're going to read this list. We will ask you to stay, veterans, stay in your place and just please stand. One of these two gentlemen will bring the award to you. So it's not going to be like graduation. We're not making you come out across the stage or anything. We're going to bring the award to you because we know you got a couple days on the high school graduate. So, but we want to start our list. Albert Daniel C. Army. Allison Neil S. Army. Anderson Ken B. Army. Anderson Lane J. Army. Anderson Terry J. Air Force. Andres Allen L. Army. Bacon George S. Coast Guard. Banghart Ernest A. Army. Barker Raymond L. Air Force. Barnett Michael E. Navy. Barton Larry G. Army. Beal Dennis E. Marines. Bell J. M. Navy. Bergen Donald J. Air Force. Bledsoe He's coming to you. Bledsoe Raymond L., Marines. Boland James J., Air Force. Bowerman Lloyd J., Army. Bradley Robert G., Army. Brillier David W., Air Force. Brennan George J., Army. I do want to say that all the information that is put in is correct, is my information. If it was wrong, John Sadler put it in, so just so you understand. Brown Samuel D., Army. Bumba Michael A., Army. Burkhart Larry J., Air Force. Burnett Leon, Army. Butler Bruce C., Navy. Fire William S., Air Force. Place Jerry D., Army. Klingenkiel Larry D., Army. Shula Brian A., Army. Collier Lewis E., Army. Conley Daniel J., Army. Conlon Joseph M., Marines. Cook William M., Army. Courtney Dan A., Air Force. Only 250 pages to go, so we're okay. Deterk Jerry A., Army. Dilling David L., Air Force. Donkers, Ronald G., Navy. Dragoo, Marvin E., Air Force. Durham, John D., Army. Angler, Jack A., Navy. Evans, Max L., Air Force. Evans, Roger M., Army. Farrell, Douglas L., Army. Faulkner, Terry K., Air Force. Fish, George W., Air Force. Fisher, Roger W., Navy. Folk, Morris A., Army. Frederick, Eugene C., Marines. Gelba, Roger A., Army. Gross, Peter W., Army. Guppy, James A., Marines. Gunder, Carolyn K., Navy. Haggerty, Stephen, Navy. Harmon, Dan R., Marine. Hartman, Charles F., Chuck, Air Force. Hatfield, Robert U., Army. Hazelton, David W., Air Force. Henry, Terry L., Marines. Hetler, Stephen J., Air Force. Hidley, Joseph W., Air Force. Hogan, Gerald P. Jerry, Marines. Holler, Larry W., Army. Haller Richard L., Army. Haller Stanley R., Army. Horn Yancey J. Jr., Marines. Hurd Gary T., Air Force. Purcell Larry, Army. Ide Stanley M., Army. Irwin Richard A., Army. Jackson Larry L., Army. Jacob Colin L., Army. Jacobs James R., Marines. Johnson Jonathan, Army. Julian Brent L., Air Force. Keeper Terry L., Air Force. Keener Jerome G., Army. Kemper Kevin A., Marines. Kessler Dennis O., Air Force. Kimple John M., Air Force. Kinch Thomas, Army. King Walter R., Army. Flotz John L., Army. Price Dyrell C., Army. Kyler Harry M., Army. Lang Neil E., Army. Lorian Jerry T., Army. Layman Edward L., Army. Layman Sherman M., Army. Layman Carl B., Army. Lewis Stephen R., Air Force. Light Joel R., Army. Lithgow Timothy, Army. Lost, Phil, Air Force. Long, Dale R., Air Force. Long, Lyle L., Navy. Long, William A., Army. Losey, Donald R., Army. Luke, Harold A., Navy. Lutz, Michael J., Army. Mackey, Lou G., Marines. Mann, David A., Army. Marshall, Robert A., Army. Martinez, Andres E., Marines. Mousy, Terry L., Army. Mauer, Daniel L., Army. May, Richard T., Army. McElhaney Lawrence, Air Force. Malloy, Neil R., Army. Mendenhall, Brian C., Army. Merritt, James S., Marines. Michael, Larry L., Air Force. Michael, David L., Air Force. Miller, Lowell R., Marines. Miller, Marvin M., Marines. Miller, Terry E., Army. Minor, Ray A., Army. Minnick, Michael E., Navy. Mitchell A. David, Army. Mitchell James G., Army. Mock Bruce C., Army. Morgan David M., Army. Morgan Jeffrey R., Army. Mumford E. Allen, Marines. Munch Michael J., Army. Nuttrower Keith A., Army. New Daniel S., Army. Nye David, and I do not have his branch. Navy. Okay. O'Reilly Michael P. Jr., Marines. Obert David C., Air Force. Osborne Thames A., Army. Oosley Troy B., Army. Oxley Gary D., Army. Garrett George H. Jr., Marines. Peyton George M. III, Army. Pepple Larry E., Air Force. Pfeiffer Frank, Army. Plant Myrna W., Air Force. Fort Emerson L., Army. Porter Charles E., Army. Randall David M., Army. Ransbottom Randy E., Army. Reed Terry L., Air Force. Reed James N., Air Force. Richards Charles W., Air Force. Wright Rex A., Army. It also says Sexy Rexy here, so I don't know what that, anyway, sorry, I'm just reading what I wrote, so. Sorry, Rex. Ringler Gary L., Army. Rink Dale M., Army. Rookstool Terry A., Army. Rose Joe L., Army. Rose Reuben, Army. Rose Russell, Air Force. Ross Terry F., Navy. Roush George A., Army. Saunders Michael L., Army. Sawyer Bernard J., Army. Schumacher Charles F., Army. Seibert Terry L., Air Force. Seacrest Rick A., Marines. Seacrest Stephen L., Army. Shirey Michael A., Army. Scholl Darrell W., Army. Siwi Charles W., Army. Schemes Jerry G., Army. Smith Alan E., Air Force. Smith Doyle D., Army. Smith Wayne E., Army. Spurlock William W., Air Force. Stambaugh Harold T., Army. Stifler Melvin B., Air Force. Stifler Robert A., Army. Stone John R., Army. Studebaker Roger E., Marines. Stutzman Stanley A., Army. Sullivan John R., Army. Swihart David M., Navy. Taylor Bradford A., Navy. Lieutenant Stan E., Army. Tooney Edward A., Army. Tomey Jerry W., Army. Travolsky Anthony F., Army. Truex Dale E., Army. Truong Thomas, Republic of Vietnam, Navy. Tucker Walter R., Marines. Turner Dennis C., Air Force. Unruh Lawrence R., Army. Valentine Michael L., Army. Vesper Richard, Air Force. Dolan Thomas A., Navy. Wallen Daniel A., Marines. Weaver Keith L., Army. Whitcraft Charles E., Army. White David N., Marines. White Richard D., Army. Whitteman James R., Marines. Wiesenhand Donald K., Navy. Wiles John R., Army. Wilkie Joe E., Marine. Williams Otis D., Army. Winnebald Carl H., Air Force. Wise Carl E. Jr., Air Force. Wogeman Clifford L., Army. Wolf Jack L., Army. Wolski Bruno J. Jr., Army. Wright Paul L., Army. Zolman Jan A., Marines. Zorn Chester S. II, Army. Hicks William, Army, and I have his envelope here. William? It was not our intention to miss anybody. Are there any other Vietnam era veterans here? So I have Messmore Dennis D. Air Force. Ben Krusha, Army. Did I pronounce that correct, Ben? Kruska. Okay. And Phil Loth, Air Force. We got you. Okay. All right. Anyone else then? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the living Vietnam era veterans, not all of them obviously, from Kosciuszko County. We thank you for your service. Michael J. Lutz, who is in the Army, and he's in the hospital right now, okay? We also, as you can see here, okay, William J. Burke, Air Force. I'll be writing these down. We have one other special presentation tonight, and I don't know how we planned this. It was actually excellent planning there, Joe. This happens to be National Donut Day, okay? So we actually should be, no, I won't say something about police officers, we're just getting ready to. But we have another special person in our midst tonight, and we want to recognize her. We want to recognize Eugenia Fulkerson. She served with the American Red Cross as a donut dolly. She spent time at Cam Bay with the Air Force and at Queen Anne with the Army from 1968 to 1969 as a volunteer. Just say that it was a better day and age when we could call them donut dollies. Can you imagine saying that today? It was nice living in a non-PC world, you know? But Eugenia, thank you for your service as well. Just a few housekeeping items. First of all, one thing that we didn't tell you, veterans, in your envelope, you have a medal that we presented to you and a card. You all have been re-enlisted in the military. You are going tomorrow. Your duty, if you accept it, no. We won't do that to you again. Also, we have a race car back here, back this way. They're asking all the veterans, if you get a chance to go back there, and other people as well, they want you to sign your name on the car, and they're going to race it this Saturday in Yarn up at New Paris. So if you got time to go back there and sign on the car as well. Please also remember, veterans, to check your card. There are 2 meals tomorrow that will be down at Central Park, and you're invited there with one guest to join us for breakfast and for lunch as well. There will also, many of you have been asking, there will also be a memorial service at Central Park on Sunday at 1 o'clock, and at that time we're going to be honoring all the veterans who are listed on the wall from here in Kosciuszko County, and also any veterans who have passed away, any Vietnam era veterans who have passed away. We're going to be remembering them and honoring them as well. That will be on Sunday at 1 p.m. In the chance of rain, we will be meeting in the Center Lake Pavilion, but there's not going to be any rain because whoever got the rain curtain did a good job. So, other than that, we just really appreciate again your service, and we know that in some ways we cannot take care of some things that you deal with, but we want you to know that truly we thank you for your service. I know some of you came home and it was not a welcome, and for that, as a nation, we should all be sorry. And let's pray to God we never treat veterans that way again in this country. Just as a closing thought, my dad was a World War II combat veteran, and I had a teacher in high school who had just gotten out of college, and she taught me all the things of what was wrong with the men and women who were serving in Southeast Asia at that time. At that time, we had family dinner. Remember those days when we actually sat around the table and ate with one another? I went home and I thought I was all full of all kinds of wisdom and everything from this young teacher who had just graduated from the University of Iowa. So all of a sudden I began to think that I could wax eloquent with my father about what the teacher had just told me. Let me tell you, I didn't even get halfway through what the teacher had told me when my dad was sitting there. If he had had a K-bar knife, he would have cut me into as many pieces as he could have found, and he didn't worry about doing something to me like that because he would have just made another child. That was my lesson, and I remember my father sitting there and pointing his finger at me, and he said, first of all, you will never talk that way again in my house. And secondly, he said, the American soldier, the American man and woman who serves our nation is never wrong. The government may be all messed up, and that's not how he said it. I'm not using World War II. I'm not using World War II combat veteran language, okay? I'm cleaning it up for you. But he said, the soldier is never wrong. That's the end of discussion. Do you understand? I'm like, yes, sir, I understand. I'm surprised he even let me eat that night. That was my lesson. So, Dad, to you, I'm keeping my promise to you to honor veterans the best way that I can. So thank you. From the many people, there are many people who appreciate your service. Don't ever forget that. And we hope this has been a special moment for each one of you. If we could all stand together, we're going to have just a moment of silence to just remember those who died in Vietnam, and also those who have died since, who have come home, and then we'll adjourn.